my only identity, which had been school, was removed from me. So I was this sort of nebulous, depressed thing without an identity. And I had to rebuild that identity from scratch. The other thing is, while I was making Raise Your Book, it's the same kind of thing about privacy. I didn't start with my first few pages and was like, yo, world, check this out. I brought it to group therapy where a lot of people with severely more complex problems than I had, such as depression, alcoholism, and homelessness, who looked at me like, wow, that's pretty cool. But the most profound moment that I had was when a parent of someone who had been depressed looked at a page and said, oh my God, this is the way my son has been feeling for years, and I've never been able to understand it until now. And so for me, it kind of almost surprises me that the work that my work is valuable to someone else. Really? And, I like it, but I'm biased. So I don't know if I answered that question.
Yeah, well, I think you sort of do. It's a sense. I mean, what you're implying is, all you were was this depressed entity, right? And then you began seeing that there was value in that, and from that comes a sense of mission and purpose. And it's almost like there's not a choice. It's what you are, and it's what you're called for. And vulnerability is not even in the equation.
No, it had reached an erosion.
Yeah.
So, also, I'm a strong believer in I tell my story first, it allows me to go next. And I taught middle school for 7 or 8 years, depending on what you count as like legit. And opening up with something vulnerable gives permission to someone else to go next. I spent my entire life looking for permission. It took a mental breakdown to give myself the permission to make this work.
Yeah.
So I'll just say, I have no doubt that your book will not be published because I think it is it's the penultimate of all of your identities converging. I think, even though you're not a teacher now, I'm an ex-teacher myself. So I think you are a teacher. I think that's just your identity. It's very obvious from the way that you told us your story, and the way that you want to use your art. And so it's very moving to me how this kind of feels like the convergence of all of your identity, right? You're able to kind of own all of those pieces as an artist, as a teacher, as someone with a mental illness, and to give that to the world, and to give that to, especially the age group that you want to give it to. I just think that's amazing. So I have no doubt that
That same excitement was when I ran up to you. I'm like, oh, the things I do right here, and you're like, I'm not overwhelmed by the show. I don't know what's your name. But the friendship began on that.
Michelle,
Yes.
you want some advice on how you can get it published, isn't that right?
Yes, I do. What people have said is find a publisher. I do not know how. No. What I'm looking for is a personal link. Somebody who can introduce me to somebody. Because I can make something here, but translating it into real world multiple copies is not something that I can do. Financially, I can't do it. I don't know what channels to go through. Self-publishing has pros and cons. Some of the cons are you can be seen as sort of less legitimate than a publishing house.
It could also be a way of marketing it. You self-publish, put it out there, and then it becomes a marketing piece.
True.
Yeah.
That's true. What I would like is that connection to that person who's going to say, I'm going to take a chance on you and I'm going to back you. And I have been looking for that person for 4 years. So if you know anyone, please represent me.
Rebecca?
First of all, I just think like there's some things we didn't walk after, but also I guess we talked about this before, but and you mentioned it here. But how do you fight that frustration
that was there for so long, and it seems like now, now you're really in a stride, which is just terrific. But in that early time, how do you fight that frustration of, just getting criticism and also feeling like the struggle that you have to kind of find your voice in and to articulate how you're feeling?
Prayer.
Yeah, I know, you describe it took a lot, it takes a breakdown in a lot of ways, but what advice do you have, I guess, for artists who are in that position in their process?
Two things helped me survive. One was the best friend whom I lost. The other was sheer force of will. It was miserable. It's the kind of emotion that people don't want to hear, can't connect to. It feels like hunger, you can't get away from it. And it just doesn't. I would advise people not to wait 3 years, but I would have wanted to take in a class or found a mentor, someone who gave me permission to do these things, even if it was only in these things. I think that's.
Can I add to that too, just being on the journey with you? Yeah. So one of the things, it's not a very linear path. Like you get to see her strong, but boy, she's like a little phoenix now, right? Rising from the ashes. But those ashes took a long time to stop smoldering. And it wasn't a very linear path. There were days where she was, sooty-faced, laying in the pile of ash on the floor of her studio, questioning everything, like, is this my purpose? Is it ever going to happen? 4 years doesn't sound like a lot when we're talking in a place like this, but when you're fighting for survival every day, 4 years can feel like an eternity. So just surrounding yourself, I think, with people that understand you, know you, the things that she was talking about, prayer partners, chains, texting numbers, so that you knew when it was getting to be that critical point, and really looking for that connection. And if you don't have it, you can't. So I would say, like, find those people that that can lift you up.
Let me say this: nothing tests your friendships like I just been in psych ward. You will know who your friends are. Most of the people in my life who are my support group now were acquaintances at that point, including Katrina. We were like, art is cool. We both teach. The end. But I had a couple conversations with a couple people, and that was a transitional point where it's like, wow, that's a big deal. I'm stepping into your life. And between my pastor's wife, a mentor at my church, Katrina, thank God, another friend who's not here, some people who are supporting us financially, physically, my therapist, who was wonderful. In those first 2 years, if he would have clocked it, I would have gotten essentially round the clock care. That's how broken I was. And that's how much I needed it. This painting here has to do with what I thought at first was my need for life. But as I was working on it, I realized that it really did cost people in my life something.